There we go. Hi guys, it's Shani with Healing Elements here, and I'm introducing a special guest for the series 21 Spiritual Questions. Her name is Megan Leone. I'm very, very grateful, Meg, that you came on. Look, I'm already calling you Meg.
That's
Sorry
okay.
about
I
that.
like Meg.
Okay, and she's super just easy and natural, and I feel so comfortable. So I've been watching Jeff Mara's podcast. She was on Jeff Mara's podcast for about 2 years, ever since he started really mainstream doing the near-death experiences and other things that are just really fascinating to me, and they hit home. So I wanted to start off, just the main theme I was thinking with this interview was talking about how it's very common for either you go through a spiritual awakening, maybe that's your transcendental moment, or maybe have a near-death experience. Something like my experience with my dad, which is kind of considered a shared death experience, technically, maybe not. It's just something profound that happened where I witnessed right away miracles, and then as soon as he passed, it's like there come the accelerated psychic gifts, like precognitive dreams, the whole 9 yards. And so I just wanted to ask you, and maybe you can explain if you like some of the experiences. You can take as long as you want. I don't have any time limit, but what that transcendental moment was, that near death experience, or anything that you think, just like many of us, led you into wanting to heal and help, because I know that's what you do. So yeah, I just wanted to start off with that and say, anything you want to talk about, if you were not really into this kind of spiritual scene before, or what that was for you.
So thank you for having me. This is so fun. I feel so like calm and relaxed talking to you. So this is perfect.
Right on.
So growing up, I had said it in my other podcast, I always just felt this weird connection, but I never knew what it was because we grew up really Catholic. So it was never really talked about. And it wasn't until I got older and I started to branch off more and wanting to know more about spirituality. And I had seen a medium one time, and automatically I feel like that opened up the doors for me. I went with my aunt. I really brought her, but I was like obsessed with it. Um, and then my near death experience, I think, was a spiritual awakening, but I almost feel like it was the spirit world just telling me it's okay, that you're not crazy. This is something that you just have an ability to do. And I do feel like I had the ability a little bit before the NDE, but I think, like I just said, they just opened it up and it made it okay. One thing that I will say, since the podcast came out, that was my first one ever. I had no idea what we were going to talk about, had no idea where it was going to lead to. And even since the podcast came out, I had no idea how many people I was going to relate to or connect with. And the one thing I will say, if people are into spirituality or questioning it, you have to just speak your story, know your why, and speak your truth, because you might be able to help somebody that you didn't know that you could. I have had so many people with autistic children reach out to me. And I also ask everybody before every reading, what did they find out of the podcast that resonated with them or connected with them? And every single person has said the same thing, that they realized I was just very authentic and genuine and comfortable energy wise. And it's so funny because I help other people all the time, but I never realized what people thought of me or how I came off and gave that energy to people till that podcast came out. So I've been learning a lot about myself in the last few weeks on top of that.
I
So
love it.
it's hard. Everybody has their own story. I always say life is a book and you're the author of your own book. So you have to write the
And the
pages to
editor,
your own
right?
book.
You're like the editor, and then you're the publisher. You're like everything, right?
Exactly. And people don't realize you get to write your own story. You don't have to live a life that you're not happy with. And if you're not comfortable with where you are and you want to open up spiritually more, you're in control of that. So some people feel like there is this judgment zone, which is something I dealt with too. When this podcast came out, I was like, I don't care what my family thinks or anybody around me. This is my story and I'm putting it out there. And it was such a huge release for me. It's
That's
just an
beautiful.
awesome feeling.
That is so beautiful. And I so agree with you. And the more I was saying before we came on, that these live one-on-one with people that I relate to completely, as these go, I feel like it's bringing even more authenticity out, because yeah, I was definitely open, which, like you said, I went through that judgment phase big time in 2016, 17. A lot of my family, my dad's family is Mormon, and there's a lot of just people that judge in the Christian family, that my other side. So, as these roll on, or as the days and weeks and months, that I realize exactly, you said it eloquently and perfect, you're helping people, and that just soothes all of the judgment cast or negative feelings I might feel about myself because I disappointed grandma so and so or whatever. It just keeps on going like a snowball. And I feel like Jeff Mara's podcast gave me a lot of, and I think that's such a blessing what he's doing. It gave me a lot of input into what other people are saying. They also feel the same as that, that factor of judgment or feeling alone in their feelings or feeling like, wow, this is so prolifically kind of, unorthodox, what has been happening to me or whatever, that it's maybe like this. For me, it was a fear of judgment even up until recently to release things like when I saw my UFO and how I got regressive therapy and I found out I met these huge blue angelic beings that, like, for me before to say that, it wouldn't even happen on my YouTube channel. I was just keeping it professional, like you said, and doing the tarot and all that. Then I'm like, wait a second, why don't I show, just like I do my private clients, this is me. This is like all of me. So I totally appreciate you saying that, because it is true. It's like it's worth so much, right? It's like worth more than weighted in gold when someone tells you, wow, I've been having that happen to me too. And thank God you said that, because that helps me. You know what I mean? So I think that is beautiful. And you know what? I hate to jump around, but that's how I am. Like you said, I'm just natural with you.
Okay.
Really, I wanted to talk about something that's so important to me. And I know that it's important to you. And I'm like, oh, I have to get a hold of her. I worked for, not anymore, like the last 2 years, no, but for about 12 years as a substitute, as an instructional aide, like under the teacher for special needs in high school. And so I just find it so, I could talk for days about the fact that me personally, there was no one really I could talk to at the moment, at the time, or even now. So I'm appreciative. I was blown away on the connectivity between special abilities, disabilities, whatever you'd like to label it as, and psychic spiritual world. I had a profound experience, which I want to tell you. And I wanted to ask you if you ever noticed anything like this. There was a nonverbal student, and the teacher, as sometimes they can be in the wrong career or whatnot, they just were really did not want to maybe try things with a student that they knew were nonverbal or whatever. So I kept on trying to teach him a new song. Long story short, he didn't say the song, but I went on a vacation to my little goddaughter's home, and I got back and I'm going to lunch, and I was definitely thinking about 20 minutes before, oh, I call her fairy goddaughter, and she calls me fairy godmother. That is probably really rare, right? So I'm walking out. Not only is he nonverbal, he's waiting for the bus. He stops and he looks straight at me. And I swear to God, he said, he's like rocking, and he's like, fairy goddaughter, Mrs. Fairy godmother too. Fairy goddaughter. I about shit myself. My jaw dropped. So I went and told the teacher. Of course, teacher did not believe me. I'm like, why in the world would I? You know what I mean? But that was just for me, those things that just hit you as, wow, God, or what universe creator, that is profound what I just witnessed. So not only did he psychically obviously he channeled the exact name, which was specific. And so I was intrigued. You can tell them about, she works with special needs as well. So I just wanted to ask if, beside being, more, like you said, at the podcast, more sensitive to their tics or their mannerisms or fit or things like that preemptively, did you ever see anything like that made you believe that there was a connectivity between a special needs and any kind of spirituality or a psychicness?
I do. I have like two different looks on it. So right now, I started into the teaching career when COVID first started. So what I will say is, I think it's a blessing because I didn't come into teaching before COVID. So a lot of teachers that are OGs is what I'll call them. They've been doing it a long time. They're used to how teaching used to be. So it is a lot more frustrating for teachers now, and it's really lacking their patience, and it's not their fault. So everything changes. So me coming into the game right in the middle of COVID, I feel like it was a blessing for me to learn the school environment the way it is with COVID. But I give these children such extra patience. And let me try to think of an example. I have a nonverbal kiddo now. And it's a very rare condition the student has. But I feel as if the ones that are nonverbal have way more of an ability to tune energy wise. So because they can't talk, they can't control their environment. Now the student I have is cognitively there, just nonverbal versus autism. I feel like they read just like dogs. They read people's energy. They can feel when you're mad. They can feel when you're happy. So for me, I take the extra time, and I don't care if I get in trouble or not. And I will sit there and be patient and show them that I am always going to be there for you. And I'm going to do everything I can, whether I lose my job or not, to do the right thing. So that's the difference between me and some regular educators. But I just weirdly am able to just feel inside my body when they're feeling a certain type of way. I don't know how to explain it, But a lot of the teachers will say, oh, the student's just not getting their way. So this is just them acting out, which yes, sometimes they do that. But sometimes something else is wrong, but the teachers aren't taking the time out to pay attention to the different signs, the different red flags, or pay attention to how the child is acting. I take the extra time because I can feel their energy and they can feel mine. And I always think that's how I use my ability to an advantage. So I don't look at every behavior as a negative behavior. Some of them are trying to tell you something, but teachers are so overwhelmed now, they're not taking the time. I just have an extra advantage, and I can just see it faster and see things that other people can't. Yeah. So there's a lot of situations and examples that I could say, but I can't really say them on camera because I still work at the school. So
no worries. I know that's kind of an advantage. I'm able to, and I still kind of feel discretion is important, even though I don't work with the district. Like I always say my student, and then I feel bad because if they ever had to pop on, the mom would know who it is. So no, I appreciate that. And I think that is so true what you said. I think it's a blessing to both their lives, of course, the parents, the teachers, and yours to feel that, because I have chills on my body. I 100% agree with you about that. And then I think that is to be said about clinical. There is medication and things that are necessary, but I think it always goes hand in hand with spirituality and understanding and empathy. So I feel like some people who may be teachers where I was, they maybe just go by the book. Like if they do this mannerism, that means this. And I think it's so important to do what you have done. You tune into their heart space, to them inside, and know. And yeah, man, that was so many times I would see, I would come in trying to code it, and maybe I had something go on. My kid was in the hospital, whatever. It was like something was bothering me. I'm trying to hide it instantly. My students, especially the verbal ones, right away, you would start to notice that they were acting nervous and just like upset. And I would say, what's wrong? They're all, what's wrong. It's because, like you're sad. They would know. I mean, just beautiful empaths. And so another thing I'm curious about this is I would take them, I think I emailed you about it. I don't know. I would take them they were high school age, and they went into high school up until age 23 at this district. And so we would take them into the community as community outreach to try to prepare them for being adults in the community. And we went to this horse ranch. And it made the horse keepers cry because they had never had anything like that happen, made us tear up. The students were I've never seen the students as natural and relaxed. As you know, sometimes autistic, and I specialize in working with autistic, but there is, Down syndrome and others, they very much have anxiety elevated. And so when we went new places, they would get uncomfortable, and some of them, wouldn't get out of the bus, etc. So when we were walking up, all the horses, they bowed, girl. They went down on their knee as if, and like put their head down as if to say, I'm submissive. And the horse trainer started crying because two of the horses that they didn't even have ride people because they were testy and old, they did it too. And they were just like, this is mind blowing. We literally didn't even say words. We're like unbelievable to each other. And we're tearing up. We're like unbelievable because the kids walked right up, not knowing. And some of them didn't have any at all experience with animals, much less horses. And the vibe that I felt, that was right before my spiritual awakening, like that accelerated or whatever, like you said, something jumped off. And the knowingness, like you said, it's hard to describe, but this knowingness and feeling of beauty and what I was witnessing was something very important, and of that spiritual elevating type of vibe. It was just amazing. The horses, like even the ones that didn't ride, they ended up like taking them in the little corral, and they just bonded. And it just blew me away how sometimes in life, including, I think sometimes, people know I'm very vocal on my channel about religious groups and things. I think that you stay in such a box, like maybe the special education director had not ever, they were hesitant to go on the horse ranch, for liability and stuff. But I think that when you don't reach out, you don't realize what a cure or a help or healing or something expanded that you can feel. So I was just curious if you ever I know that it's not typical to go somewhere where there's animals, but did you ever find anything like that, like observations with animals students?
So it's so crazy how you brought up horses. So I feel very strongly about this. I feel specifically horses and dogs are so therapeutic. There's something about their cognitiveness as animals that they can understand human energy, and especially the ones that are some special ed kiddos or especially special ed adults. I used to work at a place, and it was traumatic brain injury clients and Down syndrome clients. And they had a horse farm, and they would let the DDS clients, the ones with Down syndrome, they would let them go and clean the stalls. And for some reason, I truly believe that horses and dogs are the greatest therapeutic animals
Yeah.
for special needs people. Um,
Yeah.
like even with my dog, I have a dog, he's a big baby. He sounds scary and looks mean, but he's not. But he knows when I'm sad. He knows when something's wrong. And my husband laughs because I will talk to him and he will talk back, but he won't do it
Me
with
too.
anybody else.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
but
true.
on my Bridges meeting, there's a lady named Sandy, and she has a therapeutic horse named Dominic that goes to hospitals for cancer patients with children. His name is Dominic, and she brings him everywhere on a bus. And I literally, not a bus, a horse trailer. Look at me talking about a
I
bus.
know.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even know what to say.
school
I would
bus.
run. Yeah, the horse bus. Well, that's freaking amazing, though. See, I'm so glad that I brought that up to you. See what the connection that is going to bring me joy for years, dude, is that somebody could tell me that. And that's neat that you worked for the brain injury, because my dad had a stroke before he passed, long before, and it gave him apraxia, aphasia, some severe. He never wrote or talked again. And so that's very intriguing that you have that in common, too, just knowing that you're such an empath, knowing that sometimes people in those categories are left out of the loop. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like brushed off. So that's freaking beautiful. And I think that would be such a next step for me, is to make some sort of emotional support center or something like that. Is just beautiful. Bringing around that beautiful. And like you said, horses and dogs, hands down. There was something that I cannot transcribe into words. That was every time we went there 3 more times with the horses. And it just was this powerful, like you said, knowing, and they can completely sense if someone was like a not so positive vibe, because there was this one that came with us and he was just always rude to the kids. And I thought, God, just wasn't, going through a good time in his life, let's say, kind of. And the horse that was like, don't, rearing and everything, they had to put the horse away. So it's just so unbelievable. Not only do they know about your mood, they can tap into, like you said, the persona, the personality of the person. So that is so rad. So you just met that woman like through Jeff Mara's podcast, or different?
No, she's on our Bridges group meeting. So every Tuesday we
Okay.
do a free medium training Zoom sessions
Oh.
for 2 hours, and we do medium readings, but it doesn't have to be just mediums. It's people that want to open up to spirituality or they want to learn more. So every Tuesday it's we do that, and I've been doing that for almost a year and a half. And I love Sandy. She lives in I think it's Massachusetts or Pennsylvania. I'm not sure, but she goes everywhere. But I did want to highlight on what you said about the aphasia that your dad had. The one thing
Yes.
that I absolutely loved working with, now this is before I knew I had an ability. I had a few different TBI clients that had aphasia bad.
Okay.
And for some reason, I always was able to make out what they were trying to say. I think a lot of it has to do that I'm just tuning into their energy, but everybody gives up on them and they're just like, yeah, 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 and they don't listen. So I would have, and these are adults, so you have to give them dignity. Yes. I would take my time and I would ask them questions as they were trying to speak. And I would try to make sense out of what they were saying. So then I would ask more questions. And then the more comfortable they became with me, because I was listening and I could feel their energy of what direction the conversation is going to go into, they would come to me, and I was the only one that they would want to talk to because I was the only one that would take the time. And I think they felt that I was calm with them and understanding, but I would be able to make out what they wanted every single time, or they were trying to say. And a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have any patience, girl. And that is something that I used to fight, because I would be like, why can't everybody be nice and patient? Well, but you know what? I've given up on that, and I've been like, okay, now I can just be patient for the rest of the world or whatever. You know what I mean? But that is so true. Even with special needs, or like my dad was an adult with aphasia. Absolutely. The different therapists that would come to the house, you could just totally tell. And then I think that's so beautiful of human nature. The more that you understand someone's going to reciprocate in that way to you, the more that you naturally try, the more that your spirit can come through, etc. So did you, this is so off topic, but I love that you can like Dougie with me. I thought it was fascinating that my dad could freaking sing instead of talk. You know how that's a different brain. And I was blown away, because you learn everything, at least I did, 2005, when, for 7 years he had this, affliction. So I would learn more and more. And it just was so odd that mathematics, I guess, computation, and singing, not songing, you probably know more than I do, but it is coming from a different part of the brain. And so I thought that was neat. And so I would do songs like I do that now, channel through lyrics. Like I'll get clear audio, with a song lyric for somebody in a reading. Well, I started doing that with my dad, like communicating in a song, like answer me in a song. And that changed a lot of things, and then certain people, bless their hearts, in my family, they just like the community with spirit, I think when you originally tell them something, they kind of scoff it off and they don't really take it as something that they could try as well. You know what I mean? But maybe we don't know what exactly someone's absorbing and we'll take it and pay it forward later, right? You know?
Singing and painting. I had a client that had Parkinson's, really bad, like tremor, like the patient couldn't do anything. But if you were to stand him, he was a famous artist, in front of that paint board or the canvas, he would do a whole painting. And then I also had clients that had TBIs that would sing, and they wouldn't be able to talk. They would stutter, but as soon as they would start singing, it was amazing. Their voices, it was just a full-blown, no stuttering, no aphasia, the voice, everything would come back out. And that's kind of like kiddos with special needs. Like you said, some of them have their special niches. They could tell you, I had this high school kiddo that I went to high school with, and he would be able to tell you every single Super Bowl, which team played, the score that they were, what game, what field they played at, like anything about football, he would be able to tell you. But if you were to try to ask him anything about math, it was very hard for him. But the one thing that I did want to bring up too is another thing that I've been getting feedback that I've realized, because I always ask people, out of all of the podcasts that Jeff Marr did, why did you choose me? Because I just find it interesting. I want to know.
Yeah.
And I think it's so sad that there are so many mediums out there that make people feel judged. This is just the feedback that I've been getting. And it should just be about making people comfortable. And me, I always tell everyone, I'm going to be honest with you and blunt, and I'm not going to ever sugarcoat anything. And it's almost like holding a mirror up to people, and to see the life transformation on what I can do with people, whether it's spiritual guidance or mediumship readings. People don't understand that they need to just release so much sometimes. They need to release questioning. They need to release guilt. So there's so many things that I can help them with, and I'm glad that I make people feel comfortable. And I wish more people in what I do are more just themselves and make people feel more comfortable, because this is not like a therapy session. This is not like a competition. No.
And I agree with what you said. I'm glad you spoke on that, because I often feel that some people, not just on his channel, are like saying, well, if they're at that level, there's no levels. Like, hello, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like, oh, we're more ascended than that person, so we can give them more help. No, and it's also, I don't like where certain people say, this is the only way that you can do astral travel. This is the only thing that, like, I've seen a hypnotist do regressive therapy with a whole bunch of noise in the background. And he was like, mainstream taught me that you can't do this, but I'm guided to, and it works with my clients. And I'm like, that's real. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I appreciate that. And you're the second, I've been doing it for 2 years watching him. You're only the second person that I reached out to through his channel. And it's like, I connected big time. Her name's Brittany. She had a near-death experience, and I have her on now. We're like super besties, probably in past lives a million times over. So I just want to say that, heck yeah, that was the big reason. Not only did I connect with like the things you said, special needs and the transcendental experience, just the way that you were super real. And just very kind. You've seen it in your personality. I was like, you know what? If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So yes, I agree that unfortunately, a lot of them do make you feel judged. Even like love tarot readers. When you go to somebody, I'll have clients go, yeah, I don't know if you're going to tell me I have to break up with so-and-so and that so-and-so is my twin flame. I'm like, no labels. That's for you. But also it's for my advice to tell you, it's better not to label sometimes, because when you get wrapped up in that, if somebody tells you that, you can asphyxiate to it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I appreciate that. Like, completely in you, totally being real.
And another thing that I highlighted on the other podcast that I've really come to light to over the last few weeks is the spirits have to trust me. So when people are going into doing readings, they have to understand that I have guidelines with my guides to talk to spirits, and they know that I'm comfortable. So I talk with them the same way I talk with the people on my readings. I'm down to earth. I have to be real and honest, and I'm never going to make people feel judged, because I don't need the spirits thinking that I'm going to judge them, which is why I get very specific kind of readings. Another thing that I always explain to people, and I think this needs to be spread more, is that when you're going into a medium reading, I cannot control who comes through. I will let you know. I'm just the sitter. I'm going to let you know. And the only way the reading is going to continue is once you validate who I'm speaking to. Otherwise, they're just going to keep trying to give me clues of who they are. But if it's not going to make sense to you, it's not going to come through. And I tell people this all the time. What I do my readings differently. I'm not, if you come in with expectations of only wanting to hear A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or you see a hawk every Sunday with a blue sky, and that means you're going to win the lotto or to grandma, that's
I love
not
you.
how it works. What's going
Yeah.
to come through is what you need. So sometimes
Yeah.
what people want when they go into readings is not what they need. So
Yeah.
I relay what they may need. So I'll
They
always
may not
stop
know
people.
what they need. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell now. I can see them when they come in. I'm like, look, first thing I'm going to tell you is that if you're looking for real specific things, it may come through, but you have to drop that expectation right now and be open and comfortable, because otherwise it's not going to come through correctly. And people want me to convince them that mediumship is real. Sometimes I'll give it a shot and let them know. Other times I'm like, I hope you find another medium that serves you. I don't get offended, but I'm not here to convince people what I do is real. I'm here to
Yeah.
help the people that need help. And that is my
Has
main
that always
goal.
been there? Because I'll tell you, I fought that for a while, really bad, up until like maybe 2 years ago only. Has it always been that way, that you were like, because I would try to convince, I'd be like, wait, let me show you, and it just wasted my freaking energy. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yep. It was until I had someone after the podcast. I only had one of these eggs
Mm.
in a group. And it was like, I was like, lady, I'm so sorry, but you don't want to accept what's being told. I'm not just getting this random spirit coming to me and telling me these things. You just want me to tell you blue, red, white, green, and dollar sign or something. It's
Yeah.
not going to work out that way. So I wasted so much of my energy. I felt like I had done 8 hours worth of readings with this one person that I said, you know what? I am not going to waste my time or my energy or your time with these kinds of readings. I'm just not. So it wasn't until recently that I put my foot down and I listened to my guides. They will let me know. I will get a funny feeling before I even go into the reading or know who it is. And I said it to my husband. I'm like, I know that there's something. So I just have to listen to my guides more. And now they direct me in the right way of who's worth my energy and time or not.
Yeah, I agree with that so much. I agree. And then you know what? I can I'll definitely link below where people can contact you for readings and everything like that. What kind I was interested because you said you do specific readings. I always go with the flow. Like I'm like, you can have general messages from spirit. I think I have too many options that so how did you I would love the advice. How did you curtail and what kind of readings do you do specifically?
So I do mediumship readings and then I do spiritual guidance readings, because the only reason I had 2 options is because I had a lot of people that wanted some guidance in situations that they're dealing with. And I still get it from my guides. So that's why I call it spiritual guidance. Or if they need healing or to learn how to be more open to spiritual stuff, or if they're really just dealing with something in life, I get the advice from my guides to tell them what it is. And what's so cool about those readings is they will literally, my guides will just tell me actual scenarios that these people are going through, and they're like, how did you know that? And then I tell them what they need to do and a lot of inner work of what they need to work on. And the medium readings are medium readings, but what I'm starting to notice is even when I'm doing spiritual guidance readings,
It'll
people
come
are
through,
still
right?
popping through. So I'm
That yeah.
honestly thinking of just having one option of just spiritual guidance / mediumship readings, because I'm still doing almost the same thing. And I kind of like going into the conversation in the beginning on talking a little bit and, what can I help you with? Like, how can I honestly serve you? And the moment people are just so open, the readings and the guides just flood through. It's just so much stuff that comes through. So I honestly thinking of just making it one option. So I mean, that's really why I did that, because some people are scared of medium reading. So I wanted an option.
Yeah.
But I can't
Yeah, and
help
you
it
know
if it
what?
comes through.
I agree. And you know that my whole thing, I've never been afraid of the mediumship. I've seen Teresa Caputo like live in a show. Love it, love it. However, I didn't think that was my forte, my gift. I thought my gift was, listening to people, healing, advice, readings. But about, like a year into doing readings after 2017, every time, girl, notoriously, I'd be like, okay, guys, this is to be. We're doing like a love, whatever. And then I'd be like, doing my auto writing, and then I always send them a copy of what I write. And someone's like, oh my God, you said Mitch in the Himalayas. My grandpa Mitch died in the Himalayas. Oh my gosh, he came through. So I would not say certain stuff before. And the more I realized that it was one of my main points that validated that I'm speaking through, and I'm a conduit and it's like real, is that. And so I find that to be fascinating. I think that has inspired me to, break it down a little bit not give so many options. I think that what's going to come through is what is meant to and what messages divinely they needed to hear. And I think that is that's rad and righteous that you validated that it's going to come through no matter what. Even probably if they ask for mediumship and you feel overwhelmingly that something needs to guide them, right? You're probably going to mention that relative or yeah.
I don't hold anything back. The biggest thing that took me a long time to learn how to use, because before when I started this, I didn't know how to control the messages. I would never know how to shut them out or like not appropriate time. The biggest thing I learned is sending out intent. So before every reading I do, whether it's mediumship or spiritual guidance, I talk to my guides and I give the person's exact name and I ask them for intent to help me give them any messages that they may need to help them and to give them the best reading that can help them out there with whatever they're dealing with. And the one thing people, if they're learning how to, I guess, control their ability, if they have what we have, is, oh my God, I just literally lost my train of thought.
Oh no, I'm interested in that.
So
wait, I want to say, you know what you're saying about the control. And I always say that
to control it, yes.
Like I'm such an excitable person. I don't do it enough. And so I'm always saying I want to go on a retreat with the shaman and teach me how to really, I mean, my only thing is meditation. So please speak on that. I would love to hear.
So meditation, I am so ADHD that I can't sit during the day and listen to meditation. So for the last 8 years, I've listened to Michael Sealey at nighttime. So I'll put it on my TV or on my phone and I'll listen to nighttime hypnosis meditation. So that helped me out for a while until I started to learn how to do meditation. So when we do our groups on Tuesdays, we do a meditation and I've learned to give meditations and I actually like doing it with like-minded people.
But so is that what helps then? To control the noise, like you said, the spirit messages and the overwhelming. Yeah. Okay.
You have to look at yourself as a sitter. You cannot try to understand what the spirit is telling you, because I catch myself still to this day. I'll be like, I feel, I'm like, wait, no, Megan, you don't feel, you're just saying what they're saying. So it is a lot harder to not control it or try to make sense out of it. But the more you practice it, it's fine. It's going to be great. And it comes through clearly and straight to the point. You can't try to, sometimes I catch myself all the time. You just can't control it. You just got to say what happens. Just like the other day, I was doing a reading and the spirit was telling me something about a rose, right? So I was trying to understand it, but this spirit was also telling me other things.
Okay.
So in the middle of it, she's like, I was trying to figure out a name. And then she's like, yeah, my mom's name is Rose. I was like, you're not going to believe me, but I wrote it down, but I should have just said it then. But I didn't know what it meant. And I should have just said it. So sometimes I catch myself that I need to just say what comes through and not make any sense out of it.
This is amazing me. Like I am mind blown right now. The chills everywhere. Okay. So I know I talk a lot, but I got to break it down. Not only do I do exactly what you're saying, and that's something that I've been fighting in this interview process, the series is helping me. So I can't believe you said that. I just put a rose balloon on my neighbor that I met doorstep because she gave me so much boost after I got my stupid COVID vaccine. All my spirit friends or some people were going, oh, this and that. I'm like, talk to the hand. And then they were like, you don't have, any abilities anymore. Anyway, I met this neighbor and she goes, you do healing? And she goes, I've been waiting for a message from my mom. You just said Rose and mom. I said, okay, well, I'm seeing the Beauty and the Beast, the rose that the petals fall. She starts crying. She takes my hand into her house. She goes, my mom's name Rose. And look at the last gift she gave me. And it was a replica of the Beauty and the Beast rose. I literally, that helped me. I guess I didn't know I was going through a little confidence burst because of these people. You know what I mean? But I have the chills everywhere. Thank you so much, Spirit.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Yeah. And that's beautiful. And that is perfectly what we need, right? We need to know, like after the podcast for you, like that people are like, wow, you know what I mean? I feel the same way you do, or I would love to, hear what you have to say. And I think that for empaths, I mean, it's common at least that although, we do the work and we know how to heal people, I always say healers need healing too. It's that we can still have that shadow work about, oh, is this hokey, this message I just wrote down, like I was telling you, should I not say about the Himalayans or whatever, and as soon as I find that you release that and you allow yourself, it comes on even stronger. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love that. That just made my freaking day.
It's hard when you have to talk about stuff that's hard to talk about. And there are some things that the spirits want to release of things that they did in their life that weren't good, not proud. And they walk me through it because they know I'm not judging. But sometimes the things that I relay that are true, that are sensitive, I just have to just relay the message. But there are some pretty rough things that come out,
Imagine.
but it
And
heals people.
yeah. Like, you know what I always wonder? I've been obsessed since John Edward days, like of mediumship and just watching them do their work. And I always kind of wondered after going into this and kind of getting a couple of messages that I hesitated, but I kind of gave it to them on the auto writing about like maybe someone who has passed on and had caused abuses, you know, like either which way. And I can feel it. And they're saying sorry through the spirit, you know what I mean? And I'm like, wow, this really, it's weird. I get on that teeter totter, like, is this my place to relay this message? Because you know how that is. It's like trauma triggers everything. So have you ever run into that doing mediumship where somebody wants to apologize for something pretty significant? You know what I mean?
Yes. I had my first encounter with this was probably almost 2 years ago. There was a very before the mom, because I read the mom first and then she had me read the daughter after, because I guess she really wanted to know something. And this family member came through and I didn't know what it was that she wanted to know, but she had written it down and brought me through the actual images and the things that this person had done. And the mom was like, that is all I've wanted to know my whole life. Although it was something so gruesome to experience from what I saw, this person walked me through the exact rooms and what the house looked like and the setup and actually the exact games that they played. If you know it, I don't want to like say everything, but and then the daughter was like, yeah, mom. And their life changed forever. And they just had that validation. But I had to tell myself, I'm never going to read this spirit ever again, but I only did it because that's what they needed, I guess.
Yeah.
I was going
That
to say
just to
something.
show you what we were saying, you know, like if you release it, it's meant to be. Gosh,
I wanted
give
to
me a chill.
ask you a question because I
Okay.
seem to be one of the only mediums. I mean, I don't know that I've really met anybody that can do this. I get body sensation.
Oh
So
yeah,
when somebody's telling me they died from a heart attack or had even like amputated legs, they will make
yep.
me physically feel like I will get actual body pains.
Same.
Or like earlier today, I had somebody where I know that they died because they had lung cancer and then it went up and then something cut off in the throat and my voice was getting so like, and I was like, okay, what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
And they brought me through it and actually made my voice get so raspy. That's why my voice is like this. This is from the one earlier. And they were like, oh my God, yeah. And it was crazy. So I get those body sensations. Do you? I don't know a lot of people that do.
100%. 100%. I'm curious. The next question I want to ask is what sign you are. I don't know if it's all astrological, but I'm Pisces, and my whole life I did a little bit of that, and now that I know concrete what it is, because people, even celebrities, will come through, and I won't know that they're passed away, and I'll feel a specific part of the body, and I am mind blown because recently I've been getting into the regressive therapy in the past life. It is uncanny how in that life before I even am taken to any death, I was like, oh, my throat. And I absolutely feel it close up. Now I know what Teresa Caputo is talking about. You can feel nauseous. I'm also noticing that I've always been really like that connected with my kids, but now it's even more so. They can't even pass by. I'm like, wait. I'm feeling nauseous and that's not me. So it is real, like the real sensation. So yes, ma'am, I do.
It's crazy. It's so crazy. And it is draining, but I get this adrenaline rush at the end of every single reading. I will be tired and then I'll do a reading and people are like, don't you get tired? I'm like, no, maybe I'm just obsessed with doing this. I get an adrenaline rush and I get so much energy.
I get you. It's like as if I think that, like you said, with the intent, you do it out of a good place. And so I think, you know, the higher power, whatever you believe in, is going to reward that. And like, same here. The more I like release and step into my power, the more sleepless nights I'll have that don't bother me because the meditation or whatever. Like the best thing I read this year, girl, is that the Buddhist monks will go for 7 days just on a pilgrimage and they won't have to sleep because they're meditating as they go. And I'm like, okay, thank God, because people be thinking I'm a tweaker because I just literally am like raring to go. And I'm like, you know, cognitive and all this and having a like whatever, like a sleepless night where I'm doing my little channeling or whatever. So yeah, I totally agree with that. I know that there's a lot to be said where people say that it drains your energy. I think that I have to be careful when I practice Reiki because when my daughter was sick with COVID in September, she was on death's door. She was in the hospital and out. She's 23 and she was the only one without vaccination or whatever. And so I really used it and I did feel in about 3 days after going so hard and not really recharging with the intent to recharge through my meditative practices, I felt as if, oh, okay, I get it. you know, I never knew, I never thought it didn't exist for other people, but I could feel the draining, like I'd been walking in the sun for a long time. But that being said, like this right here, like when we get off, I'm just, of course, like it gives me more energy for the readings. And plus, you know, you help people. So that means so much. So I'm sure that you're like, yes. And that is interesting, by the way, because my dad, he ended up dying of lung cancer. You said that. And so that pertains to me too. And the aphasia, the throat not being able to talk. So from 2005, he wasn't able to speak. And then 2011, like in 12 days on my birthday, he was diagnosed on March 14th, and then 26, he passed. So interesting that you brought that up too, beside the rose. And I appreciate the little signs through the universe that I pick up. You know, I connect the dots a lot. So that
is fun.
It was so fun. I will let you go, sweetheart, but I can talk to you for hours. I think that it is such a blessing to know that Jeff is connecting people like this. Like, you've done a lot for my spirit, honestly. And so, and I have not told anyone on YouTube, if they're still listening, I got invited to do his show on Wednesday, and I'm like super stoked. So I think I'm just going to go in like I did, just myself. Yeah, just myself. And I just, without pre-planning, I think that kind of, for me, at least, it makes me feel as if I'm going on stage, and if I don't, you know, say something, that I'll be knocked off. So I thank you so much for coming on. I always say, please, if you want to do this again, I would love. And also, I would love to.
You just must have been in my head, because I was just going to say, if any of your viewers like have any topics that they want us to like, maybe there was something we said that people wanted. I was just going to say, let me know. And then we could do another one, because you're so much fun. You match my energy 100%.
100, dude. Oh, that's right. What sign are you? I'm just curious.
Oh, Taurus.
Oh, I love that. I love it. I think that Earth, water, like my husband's a Capricorn. I know, and my mom's Virgo, Earth, but and I have Capricorn moon. I just really like, I think that they're the Earth sign that would match the water sign Pisces, like very, very, but more grounded, you know? So I would love to have you on more. If you ever want to do anything on your platforms, I would be down. I think this was good awesomeness. I'm so stoked. And also, I'm interested. Can I find that on your Instagram about the every Tuesday thing? That sounds like rad.
Yeah, if you email me, we get a link in an email from my mentor, David McQuinn. So I'll just email it to you. I'll message me on Instagram your email, and then I'll forward you the email, because tomorrow it's from 7 to 9, which your hours would be what, 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock. Yeah. Okay. Me and the time. I'm telling you, scheduling the people like from India or whatever for the readings, I'm like typing in the Google.
Yeah, and people from Australia and London
all the time.
And I'm like, what time are you? And then it's just so fun to learn the different cultures too, and they're just so sweet. Everybody's such different mannership.
Yes, I think that Australia, and they said yes. I said, look, it seems like you guys are a lot more lackadaisy and beautifully open about spirituality, right? It just seems like very. Oh, what is that girl? There's another one that's like Jeff Mara. She's really sweet, and she has a near-death experience, or she's an Australian girl. Shoot, I'll have to DM you, because she's really nice. I think she was the first one I ever caught on Jeff Mara's, but she's Australian, and yeah, I just love that attitude. So anyway, righteousness, I so appreciate you, and we will like hopefully do this, as many times as you want.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're so welcome. Alrighty, bye-bye, hon.
All right, bye.